Far beyond the busy cities and crowded roads, hidden between gentle mountains and rolling hills, there was a place known as Moonflower Valley. Most maps did not show it. Most travelers never found it, and those who did often stayed far longer than they planned. The valley seemed to exist in its own peaceful rhythm. Time felt slower there. The wind moved gently through the trees. The rivers flowed quietly over smooth stones. And every evening, thousands upon thousands of moonflowers opened beneath the stars. Their petals glowed with a soft silver light. From above, the valley looked like a sea of tiny stars resting peacefully upon the earth. The people of Moonflower Valley lived simple lives. They grew gardens. They baked bread. They cared for their neighbors. Nobody seemed to hurry. Nobody seemed worried. And perhaps that was why visitors often described the valley as the most peaceful place they had ever seen. Near the northern edge of the valley stood a small stone cottage. Its walls were covered with ivy. Small blue flowers grew beneath its windows. A narrow path curved through a garden filled with lavender and moonflowers. This cottage belonged to an elderly man named Elias. Elias was known throughout the valley as the lantern keeper. Every evening, without fail, he lit the lanterns that lined the roads, bridges, and pathways of Moonflower Valley. It was a job he had performed for many years. So many years, in fact, that few people could remember a time before Elias became the lantern keeper. His hair was silver. His beard was neatly trimmed. His eyes were kind and calm. Whenever people spoke with him, they often felt strangely relaxed afterward. Perhaps it was his gentle voice, or perhaps it was the peaceful way he seemed to move through the world. Each day followed a familiar pattern. He woke early, opened his windows, listened to birds singing outside, prepared tea in a small kettle, and watched the morning sunlight slowly spread across the valley. Elias enjoyed these quiet moments. The world always seemed most honest in the early morning. The air felt fresh. The valley felt new. And every sunrise seemed to carry its own small miracle. That particular morning began like countless others. Golden light touched the distant hills. Mist floated above the river. Birds sang from willow trees. The valley slowly awakened. After breakfast, Elias spent several hours tending his garden. He watered flowers, trimmed herbs, and sat beneath a large oak tree while reading an old book. The pages were worn from years of use, but Elias never seemed to tire of reading it. The stories inside reminded him of a simpler time. As afternoon arrived, soft clouds drifted across the sky. A gentle breeze carried the scent of lavender through the valley. Everything felt peaceful. Everything felt exactly as it should. Yet somewhere deep inside, Elias felt a strange sensation. Not fear, not concern, simply a feeling that something unexpected was approaching. A feeling like hearing distant music before a celebration begins. As sunset approached, Elias prepared for his evening work. He carefully polished his brass lantern. He checked the oil supply. Then he lifted his wooden ladder and stepped onto the path. The villagers greeted him warmly. "Good evening, Elias." "Good evening. Beautiful weather today." "It certainly is." The conversations were brief, comfortable, familiar. Soon Elias began lighting lanterns throughout the valley. One by one. A small flame, then a warm golden glow. Each lantern pushed away a little more darkness. Each lantern added a little more warmth to the evening. As twilight deepened, the moonflowers began to bloom. Thousands of glowing petals slowly opened beneath the sky. Silver light spread across the fields. The valley became more beautiful with every passing minute. Finally, Elias reached Willow Bridge. It was his favorite place in the valley. The bridge crossed a slow-moving river that reflected the stars like a mirror. Many evenings he paused there simply to listen. The water whispered softly beneath the wooden planks. The breeze rustled through nearby trees. The world felt peaceful. Tonight was no different. At least, not at first. Elias climbed his ladder, lit the final lantern, and stood quietly for a moment, watching the river, watching the stars appear above. Then he noticed movement across the bridge, near the riverbank. Something white stood among the moonflowers. A fox. Its fur gleamed beneath the moonlight. Its eyes reflected the lantern's golden glow. The animal sat perfectly still. Watching him, Elias smiled. "Good evening, little traveler." The fox tilted its head. Neither moved. The moment felt strangely important. Though Elias could not explain why, the fox continued watching. Silent. Calm. Almost curious. The river flowed quietly between them. The lantern glowed warmly. The following morning arrived quietly. Golden sunlight drifted over the mountains. Soft mist floated above the river. The birds of Moonflower Valley welcomed the day with gentle songs carried by the breeze. Everything appeared normal. Everything seemed peaceful. Yet when Elias opened his eyes, the first thing he thought about was the white fox. He sat beside the window with a warm cup of tea in his hands. Outside, the valley slowly awakened. Gardeners stepped into their flower beds. Farmers walked through green fields. Children laughed as they followed butterflies through the meadows. The familiar sights usually filled Elias with contentment. Today, they did. But alongside that contentment was curiosity, a quiet curiosity that refused to leave. The white fox had seemed different from any animal he had ever encountered. There had been something unusual in its eyes, something ancient, something wise, as though it knew a secret hidden deep within the valley. The day passed peacefully. Elias tended his garden. He repaired an old lantern whose brass frame had become loose. He swept fallen leaves from the stone path leading to his cottage. And every now and then, his thoughts returned to the fox. By late afternoon, the sky had become painted with soft shades of gold and lavender. The mountains glowed beneath the setting sun. Long shadows stretched across the fields. Once again, it was time to light the lanterns. Elias put on his coat, picked up his ladder, and began his evening walk. One by one, lanterns came alive throughout Moonflower Valley. Golden lights appeared beside roads and bridges. The warm glow reflected in cottage windows. Soon the familiar magic of evening settled over the valley. As darkness slowly arrived, moonflowers began opening across the fields. Thousands of glowing blossoms illuminated the landscape. Silver petals shimmered beneath the stars. The sight never failed to amaze Elias, even after all these years. When he finally reached Willow Bridge, he paused. A thin layer of silver mist floated above the river. At first, it seemed ordinary. Mist often gathered there after sunset. But this mist was different. Tiny sparkles danced within it, as though fragments of starlight were hidden among the fog. Elias stepped closer. The silver mist drifted silently across the bridge. The lantern light reflected through it, creating beautiful patterns of gold and silver. For several moments, he simply watched. Then he noticed movement. There, on the opposite side of the bridge, the white fox had returned. It stood motionless beside the river. Its bright eyes reflected both moonlight and lantern light. Its white fur appeared almost luminous against the darkness. Elias smiled. "Good evening again, little traveler." The fox tilted its head. Then something unexpected happened. The fox turned and began walking away. After several steps, it stopped. It looked back, watching him, waiting. Elias felt a strange certainty. The fox wanted him to follow. Ordinarily, he would have dismissed such an idea. But tonight felt different. The valley itself seemed to be holding its breath, as though waiting for something important. Elias carefully leaned his ladder against the bridge. Then he stepped forward. The fox began walking once more, and Elias followed. The path beyond the bridge was narrow. Moonflowers lined both sides. Silver mist drifted between the trees. With every step, the sounds of the valley seemed to fade. The distant voices of villagers disappeared. The river became quieter. Even the breeze seemed softer. Soon they entered a small forest. Ancient trees stretched overhead. Their branches formed a natural ceiling of leaves and moonlight. The fox moved gracefully between the shadows, never too far ahead, always visible, always leading. Elias continued following. The deeper they traveled, the more magical the forest appeared. Tiny glowing insects floated through the air. Silver flowers bloomed among the roots of trees. Moonlight filtered through leaves in soft beams of pale light. Everything felt peaceful, dreamlike, almost unreal. Eventually, the fox led him to a clearing. Elias stopped. His breath caught in his throat. At the center of the clearing stood the largest tree he had ever seen. Its trunk was enormous. Its bark shimmered faintly with silver light. Its branches stretched high into the night sky. Thousands of silver leaves covered its crown, and every leaf seemed to glow softly from within. The entire tree radiated a calm, gentle light. It was beautiful, unlike anything Elias had ever witnessed. For a moment, he simply stared, unable to speak, unable to look away. The fox walked to the base of the tree and sat quietly. The silver leaves rustled above. A gentle breeze moved through the clearing. Then tiny lights began appearing among the branches. One by one, then dozens, then hundreds. For a long moment, Elias remained beneath the great silver tree. The forest around him was perfectly still. Thousands of stars shimmered above the branches. The floating lights had faded. The silver mist drifted slowly through the clearing. And in his hand rested the glowing leaf. It felt surprisingly warm. Not warm like sunlight, not warm like fire, but warm in a way that felt comforting, almost familiar, as though the leaf had been waiting for him. Elias carefully turned it over in his hand. Its surface shimmered softly. Tiny silver veins ran through it like rivers across a map. The more he looked at it, the more beautiful it seemed. A gentle breeze moved through the clearing. The leaves of the giant tree rustled overhead. Their whispering sound filled the night air. Elias listened. At first, he heard only the wind. But then, something else. A voice. Very faint. Very distant. Almost impossible to hear. He blinked. The sound disappeared. For a moment, he wondered if he had imagined it. Yet as he stood quietly beneath the tree, the whisper returned. Soft, gentle, like a memory drifting through a dream. The words were unclear, but the feeling behind them was unmistakable. The tree was trying to tell him something. Elias closed his eyes. He listened carefully. The whisper grew slightly stronger. Not louder. Simply clearer. The sound seemed to come from everywhere at once. From the leaves, from the roots, from the silver mist itself. And then a single phrase reached him. Remember the first light. Elias opened his eyes. The whisper vanished. The clearing became silent once more. Remember the first light. The words echoed softly inside his thoughts. What could they mean? He had never heard them before, yet they felt important. Very important. After a few moments, Elias gently placed the silver leaf inside his coat pocket. He gave one final glance toward the giant tree. Then he began the walk home. The forest seemed different now. Not frightening, not mysterious, simply older, as though every tree carried stories that had been forgotten long ago. Moonlight filtered through the branches. Silver flowers glowed beside the path. The mist rolled gently between ancient trunks, and somewhere ahead, unseen among the shadows, the white fox silently guided him back toward the valley. By the time Elias reached his cottage, the moon had climbed high into the sky. The lanterns throughout Moonflower Valley glowed warmly. Everything appeared peaceful, yet sleep did not come easily that night. The words remained in his thoughts. Remember the first light. Again and again, like a song carried by the wind. Eventually, exhaustion claimed him, and he drifted into sleep. That was when the dream began. At first, there was only darkness. Not frightening darkness, peaceful darkness, the kind that exists before dawn. Then, far away, a tiny point of silver light appeared. It floated alone within the darkness. Small, gentle, beautiful. Slowly, the light grew brighter. Larger, warmer. More lights appeared beside it. Then hundreds, then thousands. Soon the darkness was filled with countless glowing lights. They drifted through the empty space like stars. As Elias watched, the lights began moving together, forming rivers, fields, mountains, forests. An entire valley emerged from the silver glow, Moonflower Valley. But it looked different, much different. The cottages were gone. The roads were gone. Even the bridges had not yet been built. The valley appeared wild and untouched, ancient, as though he were looking into a distant past. Then he saw something extraordinary. In the center of the valley stood the giant silver tree, the same tree from the clearing. Yet it appeared far younger. Its branches were smaller. Its trunk was thinner. And surrounding it were figures made entirely of light. Dozens of them, perhaps hundreds. They moved peacefully around the tree. Planting flowers, tending streams, caring for the land, their glowing forms radiated kindness, harmony, wisdom. Elias felt no fear, only wonder. One of the figures turned toward him. Though its face was made of light, he somehow sensed it was smiling. The figure raised a hand and pointed toward the silver tree. Instantly, the dream began changing. The valley faded. The figures disappeared. Only the tree remained. Its roots spread outward beneath the earth. Farther, farther, farther than Elias could imagine. The roots connected every corner of the valley, every river, every meadow, every flower, every lantern path, everything. The entire valley seemed connected to the tree. as though the tree were the heart of Moonflower Valley itself. Then the whisper returned, stronger than before, clearer than before. The first light still remembers. The words echoed through the dream. The silver tree began glowing brighter, brighter, brighter. The night at the Moonflower. The night at the Moonflower Sanctuary was one Elias would never forget. He remained there long after the vision had faded. Around him, thousands of moonflowers glowed softly beneath the stars. Their gentle light transformed the ancient ruins into a dreamlike world. The air felt calm, still, almost sacred. As midnight approached, Elias sat beside one of the crystal-clear pools. The silver crystal fragment rested safely inside his pouch. Occasionally, he could feel a faint warmth coming from it, a living warmth, as though the fragment possessed a heartbeat of its own. Eventually, fatigue overtook him. He wrapped himself in his cloak and rested beneath an ancient stone arch. Above him, countless stars sparkled across the heavens. Within moments, sleep carried him away, and once again, the dreams returned. This dream was unlike any before. Instead of standing beneath the great silver tree, Elias found himself floating high above Moonflower Valley. The valley stretched beneath him like a beautiful painting. Moonlit rivers wound through forests. Rolling hills shimmered beneath silver light. The distant mountains stood like silent guardians. Then something remarkable happened. The stars overhead began moving, slowly at first, then with growing purpose. One by one, they connected together. Thin lines of silver light appeared between them. The night sky transformed into a giant glowing map. Ancient symbols appeared among the constellations, paths, markers, patterns, and directly at the center of the map burned a brilliant silver star, far brighter than all the others. The same mysterious voice echoed through the dream. The path awakens. The glowing lines shifted. A route appeared, leading from the Moonflower Sanctuary toward the northern mountains. The next fragment waits where starlight touches stone. The silver star flashed once, twice, 3 times. Then the dream dissolved into darkness. Elias awoke before sunrise. For several moments he remained still, listening to the forest, remembering every detail. The hidden map, the route, the northern mountains, and the strange message. Where starlight touches stone, the next fragment was waiting. After a simple breakfast, Elias prepared to leave. Before departing, he approached the circular platform once more. The crystal flower still glowed softly, as if saying farewell. He offered a respectful bow, then followed the forest path home. The journey back felt different. The silver leaf and crystal fragment seemed stronger together. Their combined light occasionally shimmered through the fabric of his pouch. Even during daylight, by afternoon, Elias arrived safely at his cottage. The familiar sight filled him with comfort. The stone walls, the flower garden, the little wooden fence. Everything felt peaceful. Yet he knew he would not remain long. The adventure was pulling him onward. That evening, after lighting his lanterns, Elias examined the silver crystal more closely. As moonlight entered through the cottage window, something unexpected happened. Tiny points of light appeared inside the crystal, like miniature stars trapped beneath its surface. Elias watched in fascination. The lights slowly shifted positions, connecting together, forming lines, patterns, shapes. His eyes widened. It was a map, a hidden map concealed within the fragment itself. Quickly, he spread several sheets of paper across the table. Carefully, he copied every visible detail. The process took hours. The tiny stars moved slowly, almost thoughtfully, as though revealing the information only when they were ready. By midnight, the map was complete. It showed Moonflower Valley, the river, the sanctuary, the willow grove, and a winding route leading toward the northern mountains. Near the edge of the map stood a symbol Elias had never seen before, a circle containing 7 stars. Directly beneath it appeared a familiar mark, the symbol of the first light, the next destination. Excitement filled him. At last, he possessed a guide, not merely dreams, not merely clues, a true map. The following morning, Elias began preparing for a longer expedition. The northern mountains were several days away. The journey would be difficult. The terrain was rugged, the weather unpredictable. Still, he felt no fear, only curiosity and purpose. Villagers greeted him warmly as he gathered supplies. Many had known Elias for decades. They asked where he planned to travel. Elias simply smiled. To see what the valley wishes to show me. Most laughed gently, believing the old lantern keeper was merely taking another peaceful walk. Only one creature seemed to understand the truth. Near sunset, the white fox appeared once again. It stood at the edge of the village, watching silently. Its silver eyes reflected the fading light. Elias approached slowly. The fox did not run. Instead, it sat calmly. The celestial map hovered above. The celestial map hovered above the mountain wall, long into the night. Silver pathways stretched across the sky like rivers of light. Ancient symbols shimmered among the stars, and at the center of everything, 4 brilliant points glowed. Only one shone brightly. 3 remained hidden in darkness. Waiting, Elias stood silently before the enormous vision. The cold mountain wind brushed against his cloak, yet he hardly noticed. His eyes remained fixed on the glowing map. The mystery that had begun with a simple dream was becoming larger with every step, far larger than he had ever imagined. As the stars slowly moved across the heavens, one pathway on the map began shining brighter than the others. A narrow silver trail leading deeper into the mountains, toward a place marked by a strange symbol. A circle surrounded by 7 stars, the same symbol he had seen hidden within the crystal fragment. Then the celestial map slowly faded. The mountain wall returned to darkness. Only a faint glow remained within the carved symbols. Elias understood. The next destination had been revealed. He made camp near the cliffs and rested beneath the stars. Sleep came quickly, and with sleep came another dream. In the dream, he walked through an endless cave. Its ceiling sparkled with countless lights. Not lanterns, not crystals. Stars, thousands of stars shining inside the stone itself. Soft whispers drifted through the darkness, gentle voices speaking in a language he could not understand. Yet somehow, he felt their meaning. The whispers carried memories, stories, songs, ancient knowledge from ages long forgotten. Then one voice became clear. The stars remember. A single silver light appeared ahead, floating within the darkness. The next fragment sleeps where forgotten voices gather. The light drifted deeper into the cave. Elias followed, but before he could reach it, the dream dissolved. Morning sunlight touched the mountains. Elias awoke immediately. The dream remained vivid in his mind. The stars remember. Forgotten voices gather. Another clue, another piece of the puzzle. After a simple breakfast, he packed his belongings and continued northward. The path grew steeper, rockier, more challenging. By midday, clouds drifted across the peaks. Shadows stretched over the mountainsides. The world felt older here. Wild, untouched. As though few people had ever walked these paths. Hours passed. Then something unusual happened. The silver crystal fragment began glowing. A steady pulse, brighter than before. The silver leaf responded as well. Both objects shimmered together inside his satchel. They were guiding him once again. Following their light, Elias left the main trail. A narrow path wound between towering cliffs. The passage grew tighter, darker. Eventually, the mountains opened into a hidden valley surrounded by stone walls. At the far end stood an enormous cave entrance. Elias stopped. The moment he saw it, he knew. This was the place from his dream. The entrance resembled a giant arch carved by nature itself. Ancient symbols covered the surrounding stone, weathered by countless centuries. Above the cave entrance appeared the familiar mark, a circle surrounded by 7 stars, the same symbol from the celestial map. The same symbol hidden within the crystal. The Cave of Whispering Stars. A cool breeze flowed from within, carrying a faint sound, almost like distant voices. Elias lit his lantern. Its warm golden glow pushed back the darkness. Then he stepped inside. The cave was vast, far larger than it appeared from outside. The walls sparkled with countless crystals, tiny points of silver light reflected from every surface. It looked as though the night sky itself had been trapped underground. The deeper he traveled, the stronger the whispers became. Soft, gentle, never frightening. The voices seemed to drift through the stone itself. At times, they sounded like laughter. At other moments, like songs, or fragments of forgotten stories. Elias listened carefully. Though he could not understand the words, the voices filled him with peace. Hours seemed to pass, yet he never felt tired. The cave possessed a strange magic, a timeless quality, as though the outside world had ceased to exist. Eventually, he entered an enormous chamber. The sight took his breath away. The ceiling stretched high above, covered by millions of tiny crystals. Together, they formed a perfect image of the night sky. Constellations shimmered overhead. Stars glowed softly. Silver light filled the chamber. At the center stood a circular pool. Its water was perfectly still, like polished glass. Elias approached slowly. As he neared the pool, the silver crystal fragment began shining brilliantly. The silver leaf glowed as well. The entire chamber responded. The crystal stars overhead brightened. The whispers grew louder. The silver pathway revealed within the Cave of Whispering Stars continued far beyond the crystal chamber. Ancient symbols glowed faintly upon the stone floor. They appeared only when the 3 fragments rested close together. The silver leaf, the crystal fragment, and the newly discovered silver orb. Each piece pulsed with gentle light. Together they formed a beacon, a guide leading Elias deeper into the mystery of the first light. For hours, he followed the glowing trail through winding tunnels. The whispers of the cave gradually faded behind him. Soon, only silence remained. A peaceful mountain silence broken only by the occasional drip of water echoing through the darkness. At last, a distant glow appeared ahead. Soft, pale, silver. Elias quickened his pace. The tunnel widened, then suddenly opened into one of the most beautiful places he had ever seen. A hidden underground lake stretched before him. Its waters were perfectly clear. Silver light shimmered across the surface like liquid moonlight. The ceiling high above sparkled with crystals. Their reflections danced upon the water. The entire cavern seemed alive with quiet magic. Elias stood motionless, breathing slowly, taking in the beauty. The place felt ancient, older than the villages, older than the sanctuary, perhaps even older than the valley itself. At the center of the lake stood a small island. Upon the island rose a single stone tower, weathered by time, covered with silver moss. Its reflection shimmered in the water below. The three fragments immediately brightened. The silver orb pulsed strongly. The crystal fragment glowed. Even the silver leaf seemed eager. The next clue waited there, on the island. Elias searched the shoreline. Eventually he discovered an old wooden boat hidden beneath hanging vines. Though ancient, it appeared perfectly preserved, almost as though someone had expected him to arrive. After a moment's hesitation, he stepped inside. The boat drifted effortlessly across the lake. No oars were needed. The silver fragments guided its path. Gentle ripples spread across the water. Above him, crystals sparkled like distant stars. The journey felt dreamlike, timeless, peaceful. As he approached the island, however, something unexpected happened. The water beneath the boat began glowing. Silver circles spread outward across the lake, one after another. The air grew strangely still. Then a deep vibration echoed through the cavern. Not threatening, but powerful, ancient. The lake itself seemed to awaken. Elias gripped the side of the boat, watching carefully. The glowing circles expanded. The water swirled, and from the depths, a massive shape slowly emerged. At first, only a glowing outline appeared. Then the creature rose fully into view. Elias stared in amazement. It was a giant turtle, far larger than any living creature he had ever seen. Its shell resembled polished silver stone. Ancient symbols glowed across its surface. Its eyes shone with gentle wisdom. The creature radiated peace. Not danger, not fear, only quiet strength. The giant turtle floated calmly beside the boat. For several moments, neither moved. Then the creature spoke. Not with words. Not exactly. Its voice appeared directly within Elias's mind. Keeper of the fragments! Elias felt his heart race. The ancient guardian knew him. You carry the light of remembrance. The turtle's eyes glowed softly. For centuries, we have waited. The lake became completely still. The crystals above brightened. Elias found his voice. Are you a guardian of the first light? The great turtle lowered its head slightly, a gesture of respect. Since the beginning. The answer echoed through the cavern. Images suddenly appeared around them. Silver visions reflected upon the lake's surface. Elias saw the valley in ancient times, the glowing beings, the silver tree, the moonflower sanctuary, the crystal cave, and countless guardians watching over them all. Some resembled birds made of light. Others appeared as deer, foxes, owls, creatures woven from silver energy, protectors of the first light. Protectors of memory itself. Then the vision changed. Darkness appeared once again. The same mysterious darkness that haunted every ancient memory. This time, however, Elias noticed something new. The darkness was not merely a storm. It had a shape, a presence, a living shadow hidden within the clouds. Ancient, patient, waiting. The image vanished before he could see clearly. The guardian spoke again. The shadow stirs. The words carried great weight. The fragments awaken. The turtle looked toward the stone tower, and so does the ancient enemy. A chill passed through Elias. For the first time, he understood. The darkness was real. Not merely a symbol. Not merely history. Something had survived. Something connected to the disappearance of the first light. The guardian continued. The fourth fragment sleeps beneath the tower. The turtle's gaze softened. But only one who understands remembrance may claim it. The boat reached the island. The guardian slowly sank back into the glowing water. Before disappearing, it offered one final message. When the four become one, seek the tree of origins. Then the lake grew still once more. Elias stepped onto the island. Ancient stone pathways led toward the tower. Silver moss glowed softly beneath his feet. The structure appeared even older up close. Its walls were covered with carvings, stories preserved in stone, scenes from ages long forgotten. He spent hours exploring them, learning, understanding. The carvings depicted the history of the first light, how it had once united the valley, how memories were preserved, how harmony existed between all living things. Then Elias realized something important. The lesson was not about power. It was about remembrance. The first light preserved stories, dreams, knowledge, kindness, everything worth protecting. Only when he truly understood this did the tower respond. The stone floor at its center trembled gently. A hidden chamber opened. Silver light spilled outward. Within the chamber rested a magnificent object. A crystal sphere, no larger than an apple. Inside it swirled countless tiny stars. Entire galaxies seemed trapped within its depths. The fourth fragment. Elias carefully lifted it. Immediately, all four fragments responded. The silver leaf, the crystal fragment, the silver orb, and the crystal sphere. Their lights merged together. A brilliant column of silver radiance shot upward through the tower roof, across the lake, across the mountains, far beyond the horizon. For a brief moment, the entire valley seemed to glow. Then silence returned. The fragments settled, yet something had changed. A new vision appeared before Elias, the image of an enormous silver tree. More detailed than ever before, its roots stretched beneath the entire valley. Its branches touched the stars, and beneath it appeared a final destination, a place hidden from the world. The tree of origins, the birthplace of the first light, the place where all answers waited. As the vision faded, Elias looked toward the distant darkness beyond the cavern. Somewhere far away, unseen by mortal eyes, a pair of shadowy eyes slowly opened. The ancient enemy had felt the awakening. The race toward the tree of origins had begun.